Hello and welcome to another episode of Comic Breakers, where we break down and review all things comic booky. I am your first host, Nolan Vinoy.
And I came in second in the race that determined who was going to be the first host, Brian Stork.
I did receive more votes.
Yeah, that's true.
Karen
and I'm
voted
bitter
yes
about that.
for me to be the host. Sorry about that. All right, so we're going to talk about a couple of things today. We're going to start off with a little bit of news. First up, Black Widow has an official release date of July 9th.
It got an official release date the day after we recorded last week's podcast.
Right.
So we look like absolute fools.
Like true morons.
True foolish children.
So the interesting thing about it is that it is coming out on July 9th in theaters, but they are also doing the Disney Premiere Access thing with it.
It's such a stupid... I don't understand.
I don't understand it, too.
Mulan, I think not a single person I know paid for Mulan.
Right. I think there will be people that will pay for Black Widow. However, I think people are just going to go to the theaters. I genuinely think that people will go to the theaters.
I at this point, what was it, July 9th, you said?
Yes.
At this point, I hope so. Once we hit that point, I hope that people start supporting movie theaters again.
I think people will come out. I do think that it'll be their estimates should be conservative in terms of what their opening weekend and what their total gross is going to be. And I'm sure that they understand that this movie is not going to make over $1 billion.
Yeah, and I hope. I mean, I would assume that they're not going to learn the wrong lesson from this, because it's. I wouldn't put it past studios to take COVID numbers on Mulan and Black Widow to be like, oh, female-centric action movies. I wouldn't put it past them.
So I think that we can assume that they will be smart about this because Disney and Marvel are both smart studios and that they aren't necessarily reactionary in the way that Warner Brothers and DC have worked. Lucasfilm within Disney is not like that. That's a very reactionary studio. But I think they will understand that the estimates need to be conservative and that the fact that the numbers are lower is not necessarily reflective of Black Widow being a lesser movie or something that people are less interested in, but more so it's just the natural thing of getting people to go to the theaters in a pandemic. You know?
Yeah, no, I agree. Suicide Squad trailer. I think it is a not great trailer for a movie that I think is going to be really good.
Yeah, I think it's a fine trailer. It's fine.
Yeah.
I think the James Gunn energy is there, and I think that's a good thing.
Were the Guardians of the Galaxy trailers, the first Guardians of the Galaxy trailer, how good do you remember that being if you travel back in time?
I don't really remember them, to be honest with you.
I feel like it's hard to convey the James Gunn writing style in trailer form.
Yeah, I feel like that style of humor really you need to have the context of the whole movie to really feel that.
It builds on itself and you're sitting with the characters and there were jokes in this that felt like callbacks to me to things that we haven't seen yet.
Right, yeah,
the bit with the polka dot man being like, "Oh, I sure hope we die."
Right, yeah, if there's a thing about the polka dot man being comically suicidal.
Yeah, which I think in the movie will be really fun, but in the trailer it's like, I don't have any context. I'm sorry, sir.
David Dastmalchian is one of my favorite actors, and I'm so excited to see him play Polka Dot Man. I think that's going to be really fun about this movie is that, and James Gunn even said this, to not get too attached to any of them. Yeah. They're all going to die, other than two of them. Yeah. And I think that's brilliant. I think that's so great.
Who do you think, if you have to pick two people who aren't going to die,
Harley Quinn will not
counting
die.
Waller, obviously. Of the squad itself, who's not going to die?
Waller won't die, and Harley Quinn will not die. And Peacemaker won't die because he's getting an HBO Max show.
True.
Unless it takes place before. And I would imagine I'd be a toss-up on if Idris Elba lives or not.
I think Harley's obviously going to live, and I think someone stupid is going to live. I think Polka Dot Man.
I was going to say maybe Polka Dot Man because it's an actor that's recognizable enough to where like you'd bring him back.
Well, and it's a very James Gunn thing to do, to like have one character who really wants to die the entire time and everyone dies except him. I think Peacemaker could easily also be a prequel show.
Yeah, for sure.
But who's to say? I genuinely don't know, and that's what's really cool about this. Also, I love King Shark.
Yeah, King Shark. And I also, you know who's voicing King Shark?
Who is voicing King Shark?
Sylvester Stallone, baby.
That is the
Isn't
most
that brilliant?
ideal thing I've ever heard.
It's
in
so
my
good.
Life.
Yeah, I someone had a theory. I don't remember who it was, so I'm sorry I can't credit you. That all of the stupid characters would live and all of the great characters would die.
Yeah,
like Amanda Waller, Harley Quinn, Bloodsport, they all die, and then like Polka Dot Man and Michael Rooker's character and Peter Capaldi's character.
There is no goddamn way that Michael Rooker's character makes it past minute like 25.
I bet Captain Boomerang survives.
Oh yeah. I forgot he was in this. Yeah, he'll live probably.
Yeah, probably.
Boomerangs always come back.
They always. You heard it here first, folks. # Boomerangs always come back.
Actually, I stole that from Nando V Movies. You heard it on Nando V Movies first. I'm so sorry.
Damn it, you heard it here second. All right, so we're talking about Falcon Winter Soldier now. We'll start with a little bit of no spoiler thoughts. I think this episode is great. I think it's a great kickoff to the plot.
Yeah.
And there's some stuff going on with race, and I think this series is clearly going to tackle some big sort of hefty, weighty issues, and I'm very excited about where it's headed.
I really hope that they keep diving further into it and don't kind of signal and then skirt around.
Right.
Because it is something that there's some precedent for. In MCU movies that I love, in Winter Soldier, it's about privacy versus freedom and stuff until it's Nazis. And in Civil War, it's about the Sokovia Accords, but there's also a guy who's manipulating them into fighting. And I think that those movies are fantastic, but there is a tendency to start out with a real issue and then kind of find a way to get away from it a little bit, to get around it
I think it would be the Disney thing to do, is to just sort of signal, as you said, and be like, we're aware of this issue, and like just kind of put it on the screen, but not make a statement about it, because it's trying to be as appealing to as wide an audience as possible.
This episode gave me a lot of hope that they're not going to do that.
Yeah, me too, for sure. All right, let's get into spoilers.
Yeah, let's get into spoilers.
It's always more fun to talk about spoilers. What are you doing? Listen to a comic book podcast if you're not up to date. Come on now.
How did you make it here without seeing the most spoilery thumbnail?
Right, seeing the title of the episode. So we'll talk about John Walker Cap.
Yeah.
Let me say my thoughts first.
Sure. Yeah.
I hate him.
Oh yeah.
But I think he's more complex than just being straight like evil and selfish. I think there's a lot more going on there. I do think that he probably at his core, or not maybe, I think he does in general maybe want to do the right thing, but I think there's a lot of wrong reasons behind that, in addition to a level of goodness that he probably has. I think there's a selfishness, there's probably an enjoyment of the spotlight. I think seeing him in the locker room, sort of rehearsing the speech and struggling, but then the second he gets out in front of people, he's got the charm, like immediately tells you a lot of what you need to know about him.
Yeah.
And then obviously the way the episode ends off with him, clearly Bucky is not helping, in the sense that he's just stirring up trouble between the two of them, which is not going to help his case. I think you get a good picture of where John Walker is going to be for the next 2 episodes, probably.
Yeah, I think they do a really good job of layering in the signals that this guy is going to enjoy this too much.
Yeah.
There's a moment when they're having that whole, I'm calling it the Carousel of Humanization, where a selection of characters come in the locker room, tell him he's a good person, and then leave. It is,
yeah. It's like the Carousel of Progress that we talked about last night on Ghoul School.
Except the Carousel of Regress,
right?
The Carousel of Regression,
right?
I think that there's a moment when his girlfriend or wife.
I'm curious about that.
Yeah, I'm not actually sure, but she comes in and she mentions how she remembers that she used to sneak into that locker room every night before a game, and John Walker says that's probably why we won like every game, or that sort of thing.
Right.
And that is a shitty thing to say about yourself, I feel.
Yeah,
because he's has a layer of humbleness above it,
right?
But below that, he is gloating. He's bragging about himself, and then it's the same thing later.
He did say the sentence, "We won every game."
Exactly, and it's the same thing later when he's having the interview with the anchor or whatever, the news person, and he's saying like, oh, you know, I don't have a bunch of gadgets or you know, Hulk stuff.
And then he says, I've got guts.
I've got guts.
Nobody says that about themselves.
No, and he also he calls Steve by his first name
as if they knew each other.
And he even says like he felt like a
brother.
A brother to me. Like, what the fuck? You don't know this guy.
Yeah, you don't know this guy.
And it's stuff like that I think he's playing a part. Mm-hmm. And you know, I don't think it's an accident that the first time we see him alone, he's rehearsing.
Yeah. That's a really great thought.
He's an actor.
Yeah, for sure. What does Lamar Hoskins say to him? He says, "It's no wonder you failed drama class," something like that.
Yeah.
Which I took that clue for sure of like, this guy's going to be playing a little bit of a part.
Yeah.
I do think that the fact that he's not all bad, he's very unlikable at the moment.
Yeah.
But he's not all bad is a very clear signal that they will eventually go the U.S. agent route. And I bet, again, I'm going to say it again, I'll be on this train until the end. He's going to be a Thunderbolt. There's going to be a Thunderbolts team at the end of the show.
I really, really hope he doesn't get killed. I want him to get arrested. I think that's better on its own. Even just the way that they set up being arrested in this episode.
Right.
Where you've got, and this I think can lead into talking about the big thing for me from this episode, where Falcon and Bucky go to meet Isaiah Bradley.
Which for me, I think this is my favorite scene in the episode.
Yeah, I had the thought as soon as Bucky was like, "There's someone you should meet," and they were walking like down this street. Mm-hmm. I was like, "Are they gonna?
Yeah,
are they really gonna?"
And they went there,
and they did, and they didn't shy away from it. So Isaiah Bradley in the comics,
I think even made it more horrific.
Yeah.
Than it is in the comics.
Isaiah Bradley in the comics is a product of essentially the Tuskegee experiment.
Yeah, I was going to say. I mean, it's really clearly a parallel to.
He was made into a super soldier in the 50s. He was experimented on, and he was made into a super soldier. They used him as a weapon, and then they threw him in prison when they were done with him. And they experimented on him and took his blood and ruined his mind, and then just tossed him out to live the rest of his life, you know, in poverty. Right. And it's really amazing to me that they leaned into that and they brought up every point of that and had the characters be horrified, have Sam be very angry, really angry about it. And I hope that carries. I think that's a really important step in Falcon realizing one of the reasons why it's really important that he steps into this role, because you need to heal that wound. That is a wound in the legacy of Captain America, in my opinion. Yeah, it's what Captain America needs to be now. Yeah, and it's what it's needed to be for a long time. Right, but it has been prevented from being. And I like the detail that Bucky never told Steve about it. Yeah, I'm glad really Steve interesting. Didn't know. Yeah. Because that would have been that would have like completely changed Steve's outlook on he would have gone full Civil War well before Civil War. Though it does make me wonder what else they didn't tell Steve. Right. Like just don't they've blocked on like his Google search. So there's like the word Hiroshima. They're doing imagine him finding out about that. Yeah, for real. I think they're doing some MCU retconning in a way. Yeah. Because the first Avenger, it was like, oh no, there's no more super soldier serum. We can never ever do this again. Right. And then like the Incredible Hulk was all about Thaddeus Ross trying to recreate the super soldier serum, and that's how the Hulk happened, and that's how Abomination happened. Yeah. And they're just kind of either it's a little bit of a retcon in that it doesn't negate that those stories could happen because it could be so top secret. Yeah. Right. And it's clearly not perfect. Right. But it does change our view of the past. In the same way that WandaVision kind of turns Wanda and Pietro into mutants a little bit, you know? And makes us care about Pietro.
Right.
retroactively.
Yeah. He's so loud.
We're right here.
Right. Yeah, I thought that scene was fantastic, and I think Carl Lumley is a great choice. Do you think he'll come back?
I hope so.
I think so too.
I think we'll see him one more time in this season.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, of course he'll come back because this is also the introduction of, what's his name? Elijah Bradley.
Yeah. We see him.
Yeah, he's right there.
And so Elijah Bradley becomes a superhero who inherits super soldier traits because of. That's a cool thing about the super soldier.
He becomes the Patriot, right? Where
it's Patriot.
He's the leader of temporarily the leader of the comic book Young Avengers.
Yeah.
Which are obviously being very quickly set up mostly by these shows.
Yeah, I hope they do the Patriot thing. I think that'll be great.
Yeah, I'm sure they will. Yeah. I'm sure because we've introduced. At this point, have we introduced every initial member of the Young Avengers? We've introduced Cassie Lang.
Mm-hmm.
Kate Bishop is about to be introduced.
Yep.
Elijah Bradley, the twins.
Yep. Spider-Man. If you want to include him. Yeah.
The only one who hasn't been introduced is a young Vision, which I don't think they're actually going to do.
I don't think.
I think they should bring in Viv. His daughter.
You're gonna have Ironheart as well.
Ironheart, yeah.
Yeah.
And that could step in for Iron Lad.
Yeah.
Because we're not ready for all that nonsense.
No,
yet.
that's gonna get a little wacky, and we need Fantastic Four. I think well before you do Iron Lad.
We still need a Hulkling, but we've got Skrulls and stuff. So
I guarantee that's definitely gonna happen.
Yeah.
Because you have Wiccan.
Yeah.
We're gonna have Wiccan. Who knows how that's gonna come about, but we're gonna get that.
Anyway, I think that the further they lean into the fact that and this is what is I'm right on the line on the Flag Smashers because
it's my least favorite part.
It's my least favorite part of the show right now, but I like that they're being set up as having this kind of nobility to them.
Yeah,
and I think I hope that they let the Flag Smashers actually have a point.
Right.
Because right now the whole Doomsday cult go back to how things were during the blip.
That doesn't work. There's one note. Erin Kellyman has one line where she says the people they put back in charge, the evil people they put back in charge. That's interesting.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily clear who/what she's really talking about there.
I hope that their plan isn't to release a bioweapon.
I almost would guarantee you that is what this show was about until COVID hit and they did reshoots.
Hopefully, it's been changed to something a little bit less bad, because I think that the wanting things to go back to the way they were during the blip is so much less interesting. Because the bioweapon, if it was a bioweapon, right, and they released it, the only people who would be affected by that are common people. It wouldn't be the people in power who would be affected by that. So the thing that's interesting,
which may have been their flaw, and that could have been a manner with which they figured out, well then we're wrong about this, we shouldn't do this. But I don't think that would work.
Because it would make them idiots for trying to do that. Yeah. Because it's the same thing that happened in real life with COVID, where the top 1% became richer than they were before.
Right.
So I think you
eat the rich. Hashtag eat the rich.
Yeah. Hashtag eat the rich. Hashtag rip Red Wing the fourth.
The fourth. God damn it.
They keep killing Red Wing.
Hey man, it's all right. You can bring me back from the dead whenever you want.
Hey, don't worry. I'm fine.
Don't worry
I'm
about
good.
It. Boss, it's all good, boss.
I divided like a cell. There's two of me now.
That'd be sick.
Yeah.
She did break him in half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Action in this is great so far.
Action is really good.
What do you think of the dynamic between Bucky and Sam now that we've got them together?
I think that it's headed in a good direction. I think when they're having serious moments together, it's good. And about 40 to 50% of the comedy hits for me.
Yeah, most of the comedy worked pretty well for me.
I think there are moments when they're trying to be funny, and I can kind of sense that. I think when he's talking about the big three for the first time, there's little spots of that feel a little bit forced to me. There's spots that are really funny, like him talking about how he read The Hobbit in 1937. That's hilarious.
And I also like the big three thing, and I like that it's something that other people know about.
Right? Yeah, it makes that joke work so much better that John Walker knows what it is. Like that's hilarious.
And it's and I also I like that they have the mirror of fake Captain America and what's his code name? The
Battlestar.
Battlestar.
Yeah.
As like this when they're in combat, they have this very pulpy Batman and Robin thing going on.
We were talking about this before we started recording, but Battlestar is useless.
He doesn't.
I don't even think to me, I can't remember a single hit that he landed. I hope he got one in.
Was
at
he
least.
the one who was still on the line from the helicopter and kicked that guy, or was that also
maybe? I think
Captain
he might have
America?
got a kick in.
Yeah, one solid kick in, I would say.
Maybe, but it feels like the second he gets on top of the truck, they're just choking away at him, and he's like, "John, help me, John."
I feel like if I was a regular driver on the road, and
you just pull over. Well, you also caveat, you don't have a driver's license.
That's true. To be honest, I don't have a frame of reference for this.
Right.
But if I tried to
if
put
you
myself
did have
in
a frame of reference for this,
I tried to suspend my disbelief and pretend that I lived in a world where I had a driver's license.
Right.
And I thought about if I was driving my little Prius
this
or
is
my
a
Honda
dual.
Civic.
This is a dual frame of reference thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm driving behind two big semi-trucks where a man with wings and a robot man and a bunch of big punchy men are fighting each other.
Right.
And a helicopter flies in and
you
drops
said you're
off
driving a
two more
Civic?
punchy men. And I am driving a Civic.
Okay.
I think that I would maybe I'd pull over to the side of the road, I don't think I would follow the trucks for an extended period of time.
I think you'd sit there for maybe 10, 15 minutes, let that get down the road, and then go about your business. Now, question for you. Did you sell the Civic to Steppenwolf?
I did, and then he emailed me, and he was like, my Civic got crushed by a box of mothers.
Can I get a new one?
And I said, that's obviously not how this works. And he said, I'm sorry, I'm from Space Hell.
Yeah,
so I don't know how
how
car sales work.
Yeah.
Anyway.
There's one note about John Walker and that I want to hit. And it ties into what you said about him enjoying it too much.
Yeah.
He has that moment where he goes to Aaron Kellyman's character and he's like, that was a big mistake. Like, he was clearly like, he's got lines that he knows that, like, when he gets in fights, like, he's got the big heroic lines that he's gonna say.
Yeah, he's practiced them.
And then he gets his ass kicked.
He does. Yeah, he gets knocked back into the car. Yeah, no, that's true.
And I think that's a signal. So, Breakers thing that I want to say real quick. We don't have to go into the full Breakers portion.
Right.
Housed ever.
Yeah.
Power brokers. So Aaron Kellyman directly says the word power brokers. Normally, like in the comics, it's just the power broker, but she says power brokers because they're trying to take off the plane, and the power brokers are coming to take what they're.
I think she also does. She say the power brokers, or does she say the power brokers men?
I thought she just said the power brokers, but maybe she said the power brokers men. Either way,
either way.
She also gets a text earlier that's like, I know you have what's mine. I'm coming to kill you.
Right.
I think that is definitely the power broker. And so what I think is they've stolen super soldier serum from him and then have gassed themselves up with it. And I think what's going to happen is John Walker gets his ass kicked a little bit in this episode. Mm-hmm. I guarantee he's going to get his ass kicked again.
Yeah.
And he's going to be like, if I'm going to compete, I need to get that super soldier serum. And he's going to take that and he's going to go off the rails.
Yeah. No, I think that makes sense because it does amplify, there's the thing that Erskine says where it amplifies what's inside of you already. So good becomes great and bad becomes worse.
Right.
I think if he is a guy who doesn't really measure up to this and he's got a bit of a god complex in there, and he kind of like he's trying to be humble, but underneath that he thinks he's fucking awesome.
Mm-hmm.
If he takes the serum, it'll exacerbate what's at his core, which is self-interest.
It'll exacerbate the self-interest. It also will amplify some of his good qualities too.
Yeah.
Probably.
Well, it'll make him do much better kicks, I would say.
Much better
These kicks, weak.
They were mediocre kicks.
They're mediocre kicks.
He got some good ones in. He shouldn't have pulled out the gun. I don't fuck with the gun.
Yeah. Though Cap uses guns a lot.
Yeah.
And
true.
He uses them mostly in World War II, but he also machine guns a couple guys in Avengers.
Oh gosh, yeah, he does.
Yeah, he's a soldier.
They were Chitauri.
But also, I think it is telling the kind of gun that that current Captain America uses, because it's like a silenced pistol. It looks like.
I don't know if it was silenced.
Maybe not silenced, but
it was definitely like a modern pistol.
Yeah, and it's not a soldier gun. It's a special forces gun.
Yeah.
That's a gun you assassinate somebody with.
I will say he's good with the shield.
Yeah.
And one of the things that he does with the shield is one of my favorite things I've seen on screen with the shield.
When he makes
is
the
throwing
little...
it under Battlestar. when
While he's
Battlestar
falling.
falls off the truck.
Yeah.
That was really cool.
Make a little sled for him.
Make a little sled. Let me get that shield sled.
Yeah, it's a fun little turtle shell.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying this so far. I think that it's only going to get better as long as they don't shy away from the issues that the show is about.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think you're right. I don't think they will. And so the last note to talk about with this episode, I think we should talk about the therapist scene because it's really, really good.
Yeah, I liked it.
It's funny, but the Bucky's line, you even made a sound when he said it, but he says, if he was wrong about you, that means he was wrong about me.
Yeah.
And there's two meanings that I pull from that. One was my initial response for some reason, which is definitely a little bit off, but I don't think it's necessarily like worth ignoring. To me, when I watch Endgame, I get this vibe that Bucky and Steve have probably had a conversation before Steve goes back in time that Steve is going to do this.
No, Bucky knew. Bucky
definitely knew.
Because he even says, I'm gonna miss you.
Right.
Which doesn't make any sense if he's going to be back
because
in
he's
5
still,
seconds.
regardless of how long Steve is out there.
Yeah, and
Bucky's not the smartest guy on the planet.
Yeah.
And he's not dumb, but like...
He already knows that Steve's going to be on the bench. Like, he kind of like nudges Sam to look over, and and he nods when Sam gets the shield.
And so with that in mind, I think that tells us that Bucky is aware that he is not going to inherit the mantle yet because Steve didn't necessarily believe he was ready or for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And so I think there is possibly a way that you can read that of Bucky did want to take on the shield.
Oh, okay.
And that if Steve was wrong about you, then he was wrong about me in the sense that like Steve was wrong that I wasn't ready for it.
I think...
Which I don't think that is the
That's
correct
not what
response.
he meant.
Yeah, I don't
I
think
would
that's
say.
the correct response, but I do think it's an interesting way that you could take it.
that is fair. And
I think what he's talking about is that Steve may have been wrong about whether or not Bucky is
a good person.
Yeah,
is whether he can be a good guy.
Yeah.
But I also think that there's a good chance that at some point we're going to get Bucky thinking about how much worth he has. I mean, we already kind of
I think we're getting that. I really do.
And I think that'll be really interesting going forward. But the thing that made me go, or no, I didn't go. I went, oh.
Yeah. No, it's rough. It's really rough.
Was that because it makes sense, you know? If maybe Steve was wrong about you, and if Steve was wrong about me, maybe he's wrong about me.
Yeah, it's a really powerful moment.
And I really like the presence that Steve has over this show without being in it.
Right.
As being this, figure of this North Star that isn't there anymore.
Does it change your opinion on whether or not Steve's gonna show up?
I still agree with you that he's not.
Yeah, same.
Because they even took pains in this episode during that scene to both talk about him in the present and past tense. You notice that?
To make it ambiguous.
Yeah, Bucky talks about him in the past tense and Sam talks about him in the present tense.
Right. Yeah.
Which also probably means something character-wise.
Yeah,
that Bucky
probably
talks about him because he's accepted that he's gone, and
right.
Sam talks about him in the present tense because he's still being drowned by the
feeling that he's not Captain America and Steve is Captain America.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. That's interesting. That's interesting.
I like the staring contest.
I also think one last thing from me on
Yeah.
Falcon Winter Soldier, the musical cue when they say we're gonna go see Helmut Zemo.
Yeah.
That it goes to this German opera. I think it's just like the perfect choice. I loved
it's
it.
great. It's hilarious, but in a good way.
Yeah,
and it's
intentionally funny because it's just so operatic.
And
it's
we
great.
both noticed the shot when we see where Zemo is, the like shot of where's he?
Is Berlin?
Berlin?
It's the same exact establishing shot.
Yeah,
from
it's the
Civil
same
War.
shot from Civil War. That's great.
Which is great. Well, thank you for joining us this week on Comic Breakers. It's lovely to have you here. Please give us a subscribe. Let us a little comment. Maybe like the video. Put the little bell for the notifications on.
Do all of the things. Do all of them.
Do what you think is right.
But do them in the right order, and
Right.
you will get $1 million from Nolan.
Or from Brian.
Or from Nolan.
Up to you.
We're having a staring contest right now. But
We'll never tell you which one is the right order.
Right.
Yeah.
And we won't tell each other either.
Yeah. And also, there's no way for us to know if you did it in the right order.
No, but
But-
you'll know, and that's what's important.
Do what you think is right.
Yeah. Bye.